Well, ahead of Thursday's State of the Nation address in Cape Town, a leading think tank tonight is accusing President Ramaphosa of failing to explain just how desperate the situation in South Africa is. The Centre for Development and Enterprise says Eskom is on its knees. Municipalities are failing. Unemployment, as we report tonight, is certainly deepening. And it's not just within the President's power or purview to make the changes needed. It's his duty, says the organisation. So, what's he going to do come Thursday's State of the Nation address? The Centre's Executive Director, Anne Bernstein, a well-known South African commentator, joins us. Anne, good evening to you. You say that tinkering at the margins is not helping anybody. What exactly have we been doing in that respect? How are we tinkering?
Well, take the unemployment issue. Last week we released a major report, 10 million and rising, and the figures are worse than what you were indicating earlier. For young people, for everybody. This is a national catastrophe. And so what do? We've had summits, presidential summits, job summits, we've got special projects, special initiatives, but nothing's helping because we're avoiding the fundamental reforms that have to take place. We have to get faster growth. That requires serious reform, and we have to fix the labour market so that we become a more job-rich, labour-intensive economy.
So what prevents us then from rolling up our sleeves, wading in, and actually avoid being what you term stunned into paralysis?
Well, we disguise this, but Jeremy, if you think about the issues, we face a multiplicity of crises in South Africa, and it's hard to find any South African, wherever they sit in our society or stand, who's hopeful at the moment. It's hard, as I said in this article, it's hard to see the proverbial tunnel, never mind the light at the end of it. And so it's not business as usual. We need a sense of urgency in the country. We need President and key members of our society explaining how bad things really are. And we have to then change. So I'm in favour of serious reform, and we know this is difficult. Of course we do. We know there's a lot of politics involved, but you have to weigh up the costs of staying where we are, the status quo and tinkering, or the costs of acting. And we're convinced you have to act.
You raise that important balance between political survival on the one hand, given the fractious nature of politics in the ANC, and actually the courage to act. And he doesn't seem to have found that balance optimally, does he?
Look, it's a difficult situation. I'm not saying it's easy, but we were told to wait until the general election last year. He did well in the circumstances. He is now the president of all South Africans, not just the members of a political party. And we're really saying that's what the situation requires. You have to build a political coalition for reform, and leaders have to act. Leaders have to lead. And the kind of consensus seeking all the time, the compromises are not getting us anywhere.
You say that we need a plausible game plan. We need a strategy then to sell that game plan. What would be the initial writing on that game plan? Where's the starting point?
Well, first and foremost, you have to come clean with the country. That's a big step forward. So it's not these happy letters we get once a week. It's a serious, my fellow citizens, we are in deep, deep trouble on every front. And if we continue, things will only get worse, and it will get worse and worse, especially for poorer South Africans who are more than 50% of the population. You and I have options, we can cut back a bit, but the poor don't have that. And there are communities in South Africa where nobody works. Your parents don't work, you don't have a job.
So if there's a degree then of general government mea culpa, what would that do? Would that release a valve slightly?
I'm not saying so much, I'm saying come clean with the country. Let's be honest about how bad things are. And, you know, this has been man-made, so it can be undone by all of us. And so I think you've got to talk about this. You know, you can't keep pretending we can keep an airline alive. That's failed. The president started well. He said, I want evidence-based policy making. Well, where is the case, the evidence-based case for SAA? So it's a different mindset in the country, a different frame which has to be led by the president, but he can call on others to help him, so that everybody in the country is talking about how do we get out of this situation. And more of the same, the last 2 years or beyond, is not going to help us. And we have to make some key choices.
Key choices, but with key choices also come risk.
Yes.
But leadership, I suppose, is about risk. The flip side to that is he might argue and say, well, listen, I have taken some risks anyway. Are you saying he hasn't taken enough?
No, I'm saying that he has taken some risk, particularly when it comes to state capture. That's what you and I would have said in the first sort of phase, and I still think that's true. We now need to get some senior people who have looted this country actually charged and going to jail. We can't wait forever, because there are more and more people saying, will they ever charge senior political people who were part of looting the country? So that's the one issue. Some risks have been taken without doubt. It's on the economic front and the jobs front that we would argue we're not seeing enough fundamental change, which would require risk, but without that, we face the risks of unemployment getting worse and worse, and the Reserve Bank saying they're sort of reducing the rate of growth for this year, next year, and the next year. It's just getting worse.
And that's the spectre that fills the vacuum of indecisiveness, is what you're saying.
Yes, yes. There are dangers to sitting where we are. There are dangers to acting, without doubt. We're making the case that the upside of acting and doing it carefully and strategically and building support in the country is the only way forward for South Africa.
Lots to chew on there, Anne Bernstein. Thank you very much indeed, from the Centre for Development and Enterprise. This is South Africa Tonight.